Well, Secretary Austin, for decades, D-Day has been held up as a strong message of American resolve to stand up for freedom. How does that message hold up in today's environment when we see the aggression around the world now?
Well, it certainly is a reminder of how important it is to contest aggression and to contest tyranny. We can never forget to be grateful to those men and women who gave their lives here. We can never allow the memory to fade, because if we do, I believe that we'll be headed down a very dangerous path. And of course, it's memories like these that help us strengthen our resolve on what we're all about, what our values are all about. And so today was a very special day and a great day to see so many veterans here. The service was just magnificent, as you know.
Well, it's worth pointing out you're there on sacred ground. You're on the European continent where war rages in Ukraine. We saw recently the U.S. Congress begin to show signs of wavering support for Ukraine. What does that portend, and what's the message to American allies?
Well, you know, I've seen bipartisan support for Ukraine throughout, Lester, and anytime you see bipartisan support to the degree that we've seen it, we knew that Congress would come through, and they did. And as they did, as the supplemental was passed, it was a significant uplift in terms of you know, the impact on the morale of the Ukrainian troops, who are really fighting valiantly. And they don't ask anybody to do the fighting for them. What they ask is for us and others to help by providing security assistance. And Ukraine matters, and you've heard us say this a number of times, not just for Ukraine and not just for Europe, but it matters to the world. It's about making sure that tyrants can't wake up one day and decide to erase his neighbor's borders and annex his neighbor's property. This is about making sure that sovereign rights are respected around the world. So Ukraine matters to the entire world. Right. Certainly matters to our security. So.
But U.S. support has been incremental. This weapon system, a more modern one, another more modern one, a long-range one. Why not just untie Ukraine's hands and give them everything they believe they need to win this war?
Well, Lester, quite frankly, you know, I've been in touch with my counterpart from the very beginning on a weekly basis and discussing what their needs are, what kind of training they need, what kind of weapons and munitions they need, and we provided that. And quite frankly, had we not been effective in doing that, then this would be a different story. I remind everyone that Ukraine, a much smaller country with initially an inferior military, has resisted the aggression of a much larger Russia for 2 years, plus years.
But can they win?
And you know, without, well, what we want to see at the end of the day, Lester, is a democratic, sovereign Ukraine that has the ability to defend its sovereign territory and deter aggression. And I think they can certainly be successful at that.
I also want to ask you about the situation in Israel and Gaza. We've seen, of course, in Gaza an enormous number of civilian casualties. You know very well what urban combat looks like. You commanded American troops in some of those very circumstances. When you look at the number of civilian deaths in Gaza, what does that tell you about the way Israel is waging this fight, and should they be doing it a different way?
Well, first of all, to the point that you made, Lester, is that this is a complex environment. You know, it's a three-dimensional fight. You know, rooftops, alleyways, underground, tunnels underground. So very difficult. And to compound that, Hamas routinely centers itself in and amongst the civilian population, puts its command and control facilities, its logistical nodes underneath schools and hospitals, and that makes for a much more difficult fight. Now, we continue to emphasize to the leadership in Israel that, number one, we are going to continue to provide support to Israel so it can defend itself. But number two, there are clearly ways to ensure that we're protecting the civilian population and moving the civilian population out of harm's way. And there are ways to be more precise in terms of achieving one's objectives. So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. You can accomplish your objectives and still protect the civilian population. As a matter of fact, protecting the civilian population is a strategic imperative. I think if you're doing that, I think it will enable long-term success, and I think it's very, very important.
And Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated his goal very clearly, that is to destroy Hamas. Putting the politics of that aside, militarily, is that even possible?
I think it's incumbent on all of us.
Well, Lester, as we both know, Hamas is an idea. And the way that you defeat an idea is with a better idea. And so not only do you have to defeat Hamas's military capability, but you must do the right things to provide for the civilian population so that you strip the civilian population away from Hamas. And more humanitarian assistance needs to continue to flow in, and you know, the entire international community needs to do what's possible to help the Palestinian people.
And Mr. Secretary, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your health. I know you recently had another treatment related to your prostate cancer that required you to temporarily transfer authority. How are you doing right now, sir?
That treatment was not related to the cancer. It was something that we had planned, and it was a simple procedure, but it involved anesthetics. So anytime you use anesthetics, it's wise for that short period of time to go ahead and transfer responsibilities. But to answer your question, I'm doing fine. My doctors are taking good care of me, and cancer-free at this point.
So. Those are great words to hear, I'm sure, for you and your family. Secretary, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Safe travels.
Well, thanks, Lester. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.